I need you to stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to tell you is the kind of story that changes the way you see the people closest to you. I woke up on an ordinary Tuesday. Nothing felt different. But by the time I went to bed that night, everything I thought I knew about my family was gone. And what I found out next, most people can't even bring themselves to say out loud. Before we go deeper into this story, take a second and hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and let us know where you're watching from. I'm curious to know how far these stories travel. My name is Mark Miller. For 6 years, I believed I was living a quiet, blessed life in a peaceful suburb outside Columbus, Ohio. I had a rewarding job as a structural engineer, a charming home, and above all, my 11-month-old daughter, Maya. She was my whole world. Her bright laughter was the first thing I wanted to hear in the morning and the last thing I thought about before closing my eyes. But beneath the surface of what appeared to be an ideal suburban marriage, a dark storm was gathering, one that would threaten to strip away my rights as a father forever. My wife Sarah and I had met in college. Back then she was vibrant, ambitious, and caring. But over the last 2 years, particularly after Maya was born, something shifted dramatically inside her. What started as subtle criticism slowly evolved into constant hostility. Nothing I did was ever good enough. I brushed it off at first as postpartum stress or fatigue. I took on extra household responsibilities, covered nighttime feedings, and took over morning routines so Sarah could sleep in. I tried everything to ease her burden, but the cooler I remained, the more volatile she became. Looking back now, I realize it wasn't stress at all. It was the beginning of a calculated plan to reshape our reality. By late autumn, the atmosphere in our home was suffocating. Sarah began isolating herself, taking long phone calls behind closed doors, and lowering her voice whenever I entered the kitchen. When I asked if everything was all right, she'd turn cold, accusing me of being overly suspicious and controlling. I tried to keep my focus where it belonged, on baby Maya. I built a nursery filled with custom bookshelves, spent hours reading to her, and cherished every single moment. But every time I held my daughter, I could feel Sarah's sharp, calculating gaze on my back. It felt as though she was watching my every move, waiting for a single misstep. The snare was sprung on a rainy Tuesday evening. I arrived home after a long day at a construction field site. The house was eerie and silent. Maya was sleeping upstairs in her crib, but Sarah was standing in the center of the living room holding a thick folder in her hands. She didn't offer a greeting or a warm smile, just a cold, vacant stare. "We're done, Mark," she said, her voice flat and completely devoid of emotion. "I want you out of this house tonight." I stood there, soaked from the rain, utterly bewildered. "What are you talking about, Sarah? What's going on?" "I've filed for divorce," she replied, tossing a stack of legal documents onto the coffee table. "And I'm seeking full emergency custody of Maya. You are an unfit, dangerous father, and you're not going to ruin her life." I couldn't process the words. Unfit? Dangerous? I had never so much as raised my voice at my daughter or my wife. When I opened the legal petition, my hands trembled as I read the allegations written in cold, legal phrasing. Sarah claimed that I was prone to violent, unprovoked outbursts. She claimed that I frequently neglected Maya, leaving her unattended in dangerous situations while I drank heavily in the garage. She had attached fabricated logs detailing dates, times, and incidents that simply had never occurred. It was a complete fiction, a meticulous character assassination designed to destroy my standing in court before I even had a chance to speak. Before I could even wrap my head around the lies, there was a sharp knock at the front door. Sarah had called local law enforcement, reporting a domestic dispute and claiming she felt unsafe. 2 police officers stepped into the foyer. Although I remained entirely calm and cooperative, the system is designed to act on caution. Given the nature of the allegations and the pending emergency order, I was advised to leave the premises voluntarily for the night to avoid escalating matters. I was forced to pack a single bag under the stern eyes of officers, watching my daughter's room door close behind me as I was ushered out into the rain. The following weeks were a living nightmare. I moved into a modest, extended-stay motel near the interstate. My routine was completely dismantled. I was cut off from my child, allowed only brief, supervised visits at a county facility for 2 hours every Saturday. Seeing Maya in a cold, sterile visitation room while an observer sat in the corner taking notes broke my heart into pieces. Maya would reach for me, babbling happily, entirely unaware of the ugly legal battle taking place over her future. Every time I had to hand her back at the end of those 2 hours, I felt an overwhelming ache in my chest. My court-appointed attorney, Richard Vance, was a seasoned family lawyer. But even he admitted we were facing an uphill battle. Sarah had hired a high-powered, ruthless divorce attorney known for aggressive tactics. They presented Sarah as a devoted, protective mother and portrayed me as an unstable risk. They filed motion after motion to restrict my access further, requesting full termination of overnight rights and demanding psychological evaluations. Sarah's legal team claimed they had witness statements from her friends and family, backing up her claims about my alleged temper and negligence. It felt like a mountain of quicksand was swallowing me whole. When you're facing false accusations that threaten to tear your child away from you, the isolation feels absolute. If you were in my shoes, standing in an empty room wondering how someone you loved could fabricate such lies, what would you do? Share your thoughts in the comments. As the final evidentiary hearing approached, I was packing up the last of my personal items that had been retrieved from the house in sealed boxes. Deep inside a crate of old computer gear, my hand hit a small plastic square. It was a secondary smart hub for an indoor baby monitor system I had installed months ago. When Maya was a newborn, I had set up a dual camera unit in the nursery. One camera was connected to our main Wi-Fi network, which Sarah controlled and had changed the passwords to the moment I was pushed out. But the second camera, a backup unit equipped with an internal SD card and independent local storage, had been hardwired to continuously record high-definition audio and video directly to a secure local drive. My heart hammered against my ribs as I plugged the device into my laptop. The drive contained hundreds of hours of continuous time-stamped footage from the exact dates Sarah had listed in her legal affidavit. I spent 3 straight days and nights reviewing the files, barely sleeping, drinking black coffee, and sifting through continuous video feeds. What I found on those recordings went beyond merely proving my innocence. It laid bare the shocking, unvarnished truth of what had really been happening inside our home. The footage was staggering. On the specific dates where Sarah claimed I had abandoned Maya to drink, the video showed me patiently rocking our daughter to sleep, feeding her, and reading bedtime stories while Sarah was nowhere to be found. Even more shocking, the recordings captured Sarah in the nursery when I wasn't in the room. The cameras picked up clear audio of her talking on speakerphone with her personal trainer, discussing how she planned to trap me, push me out of the house, and secure maximum child support alongside full ownership of the property. On one clip, recorded just hours before she called the police on me, she was heard explicitly rehearsing her frantic voice to make the emergency call sound convincing. I immediately brought the hard drive and verified file timestamps to my attorney, Richard Vance. As Richard watched the video files on his desktop, his solemn expression turned into absolute shock. "Mark," he said, looking up over his glasses, "this changes everything. But we cannot let them know we have this until we are in front of the judge. If they get wind of this footage early, they will try to file motions to suppress it or change their narrative. We let them present their entire case under oath first." The day of the final custody hearing arrived at the Franklin County Family Court. The courtroom was formal, quiet, and cold. Judge Eleanor Sterling presided over the bench, a stern, non-nonsense magistrate known for her sharp legal mind and zero-tolerance policy for parental misconduct. Sarah sat at the petitioner's table dressed conservatively in navy blue, flanked by her legal counsel. She looked solemn, playing the role of a worried, protective mother to perfection. I sat next to Richard, keeping my hands flat on the table, holding my composure despite the nervous tension running through my veins. Sarah's attorney took the podium with supreme confidence. For 45 minutes, he painted a grim picture of my character. He read aloud from Sarah's sworn affidavit, recounting fictional instances of severe neglect, explosive aggression, and emotional instability. Sarah took the witness stand next. Under oath, she placed her hand on her heart and delivered a tearful testimony. She looked directly at Judge Sterling and described how I had allegedly ignored our daughter's cries, yelled at her in fits of rage, and made the home environment dangerous. She swore under penalty of perjury that every word in her statement was the complete, unvarnished truth. When it was time for cross-examination, Richard stood up calmly. He didn't raise his voice or argue. Instead, he asked Sarah a few simple, precise questions. Mrs. Miller, you stand by your sworn statement that on the night of October 14th, Mr. Miller was intoxicated, belligerent, and left your infant daughter unattended in her crib while yelling at you? Yes, Sarah replied, wiping away a tear with a tissue. It was terrifying. He was out of control. And you maintain that you never fabricated any incidents or discussed plans to manipulate custody proceedings to gain financial control of the house? Of course not, Sarah snapped, adjusting her posture. How dare you even suggest that? I only care about my daughter's safety. Richard turned to the bench. Your Honor, we request permission to present Defense Exhibit C, a series of time-stamped, unedited video files recorded by a continuous nursery monitor in the home. Sarah's attorney jumped to his feet, objecting frantically on grounds of surprise and privacy violations. But Richard calmly demonstrated that the camera was installed in a common nursery area inside the marital home for child safety purposes, making it fully admissible. Judge Sterling overruled the objection and ordered the video to be displayed on the courtroom monitors. The lights in the courtroom dimmed slightly. The first clip played. The screen displayed a crystal-clear timestamp, October 14th, 8:15 p.m. On screen, I was sitting peacefully in a rocking chair, softly singing a lullaby while cradling Maya until she fell asleep. There was no alcohol, no yelling, and no hostility. No. Then Richard clicked onto the second clip from November 2nd. The courtroom speaker filled with Sarah's clear, unedited voice. The video showed her sitting on the nursery armchair while Maya napped. Sarah was on speakerphone laughing as she spoke to her friend. He has no idea, Sarah's recorded voice echoed through the courtroom. Once I make the police report, the court won't even listen to him. I'll get the house, full custody, and his income for the next 18 years. He's too nice to fight back. A dead silence fell over the room. Sarah's face drained of all color. Her attorney sat slowly down, completely speechless. Judge Sterling's eyes narrowed into steel as she looked down from the bench, her expression filled with cold authority. She immediately paused the video, removed her glasses, and addressed Sarah directly. Mrs. Miller, you have committed blatant perjury in my courtroom. You have weaponized the legal system to deprive a child of her loving father. Judge Sterling didn't hesitate. She immediately dismissed all petitions and protective orders against me. She granted me full temporary physical and legal custody of Maya, ordering Sarah to pack her belongings and vacate the marital residence within 24 hours under sheriff supervision. Furthermore, Judge Sterling referred the case file to the district attorney's office for criminal perjury and filing false police reports. Walking out of that courthouse holding the official custody order was the most overwhelming relief of my life. I drove straight to pick up my daughter, holding her close in my arms, knowing that the truth had finally prevailed. Thank you so much for listening to my story today. False accusations and betrayal can tear lives apart, but standing up for the truth and protecting the ones you love is always worth the fight. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts below, subscribe to Family Secrets and Revenge, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Your support keeps this community alive, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section.